I welcome everybody for the class tonight on ovarian masses in the premenopausal age group. I've divided the ovarian masses into two kinds. We'll be discussing today the ovarian masses in the premenopausal age group, and then the next time I'll take a class, it will be upon the ovarian masses in the postmenopausal age group, and there we're going to talk about the ovarian carcinoma or epithelial ovarian cancer in specific. So all the latest guidelines, all the latest recommendations will be taught, and of course the staging and appropriate management. In tonight's class, I've divided it in such a way that you get to know whether you are dealing with a benign mass, you're dealing with a malignant mass, or you're dealing with a borderline mass. I've given you the management and everything that you need to know for all these three important aspects. We're going to be dealing with what exactly germ cell tumors are. To be very specific, it's not exactly called germ cell tumor. We're going to be calling it non-epithelial ovarian neoplasms, and not just them alone. We'll be dealing with what you call as the normal cysts, the ovarian cysts, which are abundantly there, given in your ultrasound examinations, which you deal with every day in your OPD. So whether it's a simple cyst, whether it's a complex cyst, what do you mean by complex cyst? You have to ask the radiologist to be more specific when they're giving you the report. And now so much of importance to this radiology management of ovarian cysts is there that we're totally dependent on what they give us as the result. Okay, and I'll tell you why. What is the answer? Now, before I start the class tonight, I have an announcement to make. I am going to be starting a grievance addressal for all the students. That means everybody who's giving DNB exam. I've seen so many students approaching me with their problem of dealing with the DNB office in Delhi. I've got my sources there, and I have spoken with them. They'll be taking up all your cases to the DNB office, and they'll be dealing and talking to them on your behalf. All you have to do is just report to me whatever your grievance is, and we'll be making sure that we solve this on our part. Okay, so my staff is going to talk with you, listen to all your query. Probably you will have to write down an application or something, write it down with your signature and everything. Just forward it to him. He'll take out the printouts and he'll meet on behalf of you in Delhi in the DNB office. Neither these people are responding on the mails, nor are they picking up the calls. My students are so troubled that their exam is right on their head. So whether they'll study or whether they'll fight this problem of some people are not getting their approval for the admit card. Some people are not getting the approval for the thesis. Some people have already given it once, they want to appear again, and there's been a gap. And these people are not recognizing that they had already submitted a thesis. So many students have different kind of combination and problem, of the problems. So we have decided to take up a step forward in this direction as well. Me and my staff are going to be taking up all your grievances. And this is not only for obstetrics and gynae students, it's for all DNB students in whichever corner of India they are. They find it difficult to reach the DNB people, and they do not give you any specific, authentic, reply. So we are going to be dealing up with these cases. This was the announcement that I wanted to make before the class. And now let's begin with the class. So let me start with the abdominal mass. We're talking about basically the ovarian masses in young adults. But when a person comes to you with heaviness in abdomen, or let's say a frank abdominal mass, that time you don't know whether it's ovarian mass or what kind of mass is it, right? So what you're dealing with is actually just a mass in abdomen. And I'll be talking to you about this thing with what is the differential diagnosis of those masses, and we'll be dealing from there henceforth. It will come in the differential diagnosis. But to start with, let me make it easy for you. Let's focus right now, and let's say that the abdominal mass was an ovarian mass. Now, how do you know what is the categorization of whether it is a simple benign mass or a malignant mass? So what masses usually, when they come in the report, whether they are clubbed as benign or what are malignant masses? So usually when the simple cyst comes in your ultrasound examination or ultrasound report, it has to be a benign cyst. 60% of all simple cysts are benign. Even here you see some can be borderline. Okay, and when it comes to complexes, there are many times I've seen a report, this is a complex cyst. You are the radiologist. You have to tell me what kind of complex system I'm dealing with here, because every next step is going to be dependent upon what you're talking about. Complex cyst, whether it's a mature cystic teratoma. Now, can anybody quickly write down in the chat box what exactly is mature cystic teratoma? How is it, how is it written in your ultrasound reports. What exactly is mature cystic teratoma? Quickly, guys, can you just let me know what is mature cystic teratoma? How is it written? Have you ever seen a report of mature cystic teratoma in ultrasound? Never. They use another term for it. What is that? The most common germ cell tumor, which is actually mature cystic teratoma. Come on, guys, I'm expecting you to know this. I think you do know this already, because when I'll say, you'll be like, oh my God, we knew it already, right? So let me know how many of you really know about this. I'm sure you've never seen something like this written in your, ultrasound reports. It's a mature cystic teratoma. They either write a complex cyst, most probably in the bracket. It's a dermoid cyst, guys. Okay, mostly mature cystic teratoma is a dermoid. That's another name. So when I was your age, I used to search that. What about dermoid cyst? That's, it's not given in one of these germ cell tumors. It's not given there. Actually, what you call is actually the mature cystic teratoma. One of the kinds of this mature cystic teratoma is the dermoid cyst. Here, teratoma is two kinds, mature and immature. There's another better table later on in the presentation. So here you have germ cell tumor. The first one is teratoma. Teratoma is most common germ cell tumor, and even more common is the mature cystic teratoma, which is the dermoid cyst. So endometrioma is there, gonadoblastoma is there, serous or mucinous cyst adenoma. Now, when I say serous cyst adenoma, it is benign. When I say serous cyst adenocarcinoma, it becomes malignant. So the reports that come to you from the frozen section, sometimes I used to be we used to start, ovarian cyst is always it puts you in dilemma. If you leave it, you're in big trouble, and if you take out unnecessarily, you have to go through a very, very high, heavy surgery. The staging surgery for ovarian carcinoma, it's not very simple. I'll tell you when we take up the next session on ovarian carcinomas. It's a huge surgery, so you are in a very, very big trouble to know whether this is benign or it is malignant before surgery. So a lot of emphasis in tonight's class will be in understanding how to know whether this cyst, that so-called ovarian cyst that we're dealing with, is benign or malignant, because after that, the treatment prongs, they are very, very varied. Okay, if it's a benign cyst, it's easier to manage. If it's a malignant, or even if there is a doubt of malignancy, well, you have a very, very difficult path to tread, both you and the patient. So anyway, sometimes the frozen section gives you the answer as serous cyst adenoma. And I'm like, so I was so scared to ask my consultants that, ma'am, what are we dealing with here? We're dealing with a benign mass, or it looks like malignant? But actually, it's a benign mass. Whenever we say serous cyst adenoma, it is benign. Whenever we say cyst adenocarcinoma, it becomes malignant. That's the difference in the terms of histopathology. So actually, these are histopathological terms, but look-wise also in radiology, they've been taught how to differentiate between serous cyst adenoma, cyst adenocarcinoma, and mucinous variety. Though it's not that simple, and it's hardly ever reported. Ovarian torsion will be very, it will be very, very, obvious to see. In very, late cases, the flow stops. But usually before that, the patient comes to you with a lot of pain. So your clinical diagnosis, along with the fact that the Doppler flow is slightly reduced, makes a diagnosis of ovarian torsion. Tubo-ovarian abscess, paratubular para-ovarian cyst. These are all benign. Malignant, they are around 4 to 16 or 4 to 15%. And amongst them, what are they? So sex-cord stromal tumors, you have a granulosa cell tumor, the juvenile granulosa cell tumor, the most common malignant variety. Sertoli cell Leydig tumor, dysgerminoma. I was just chatting with my friends before the class that dysgerminoma was there as a diagnosis. And I overlooked the fact that it is not benign, it was a malignant variety. So see, dysgerminoma is definitely benign as well, but dysgerminomas can be malignant, mostly benign, but it can be malignant as well. Yolk sac tumor. So these are those germ cell tumors which have a predilection to become malignant. For example, there was a patient of mine who had dermoid cyst. Dermoid cyst, that was around 4.3 centimeter, 3.3 centimeters. She was diagnosed at the age of around 21 or something. And she was very, very apprehensive that, ma'am, what should I do? When I was myself very young at that time, when I asked my consultants, they were like, just leave it. It's a dermoid cyst. It doesn't grow. It just lies. It's benign. Just leave it inside. Whenever she's going to plan a pregnancy, and whenever suppose she has a cesarean section, it can get removed. But keep following that patient up. And it was definitely dermoid. On multiple scans, it came out to be dermoid. Finally, she got it removed at the time of a cesarean section. But that being said, why am I sharing this thing with you? That is because dermoids is a very, very slow predilection of becoming malignant. But dysgerminoma, had it been a dysgerminoma, I wouldn't have been sitting over it so patiently and so comfortably. So over here, this is the list that I've got for you. Why? Because these are those germ cell tumors which have a strong predilection of getting malignant as well. So embryonal carcinoma, yolk sac tumors, polyembryoma, immature teratomas. See, immature teratoma. I never said mature. Mature teratoma is dermoid cyst, right? Epithelial tumors, obviously. These are mostly all of them are malignant. And amongst the sex cord stromal, you have juvenile granulosa cell tumor and sertoli cell latex cell tumor. They can become malignant. So